What up, what up? How's it going? So we are just hitting the end of February right now, the end of February 2022. Actually, by the time you see this video, it'll probably be early March. And I just realized that it has been a full year that I've been on YouTube. I uploaded my very first video in February of last year, February 2021. And in the time since, I have made a total of 47 videos. This will actually be video number 48. I have made almost one video every single week for the last year. And so I figured I would take this opportunity to reflect back and see what the last year has been like and talk about my experiences as a one-year-old YouTuber. Is that one-year-old YouTuber? No, I'm not 1 year old. My experience is being on YouTube for 1 year, I should say. See, the talking on camera thing is still a work in progress. But yeah, one full year here on YouTube, and I figured I would share with you 10 things that I've learned in the time since. And if you are thinking about starting a channel, or if you've just started a channel, maybe some of this stuff will be helpful to you. And if not, maybe you'll just find it interesting or entertaining. So buckle in, here we go. So the very first thing that I've learned is that equipment doesn't matter until it does. I know that there are a lot of big established YouTubers who like to push the idea that equipment doesn't matter and you can make content using absolutely anything you have. And I think that to a certain extent, that's totally true. There's even some YouTubers that I really enjoy watching that make really great content, and I know that they just use their phone, or at least they started out just using their phone. And so I do think that there is a certain degree to which you can really make good content using whatever you have, and that limitations of equipment are not a good reason to prolong starting something you want to start. But there is a point where you will kind of hit a wall. And my experiences early on were that I was shooting with a Nikon D3200, which is about a 10-year-old, almost 10-year-old camera at this point. And it takes great photos, but I found it to be really, really difficult to work with when making videos. There was no flip out screen. The autofocus was virtually non-existent. I talked about this in earlier videos that I made. I'll link to a couple of them if you're interested. But basically, the thing about the Nikon is that technically, yes, I could use it to make YouTube videos, and I did make my first handful of videos using it, but the experience created a lot of friction. It made it really difficult to make those videos. Often I would have to reshoot and reshoot and reshoot them because they were out of focus. And beyond that, it just made it a really painful experience, which discouraged me from wanting to make content. And so while I do think it's true that you can more or less make content with anything you have, and that you shouldn't feel the need to go and spend thousands of dollars on gear before you start making the videos or taking the pictures or doing whatever it is you want to do, I do think that there is absolutely merit to having equipment that is easy to use and that is enjoyable to use and that actually makes you want to use it, rather than making it a painful experience that you loathe. The second thing that I've learned after a year on YouTube is that your growth is going to be probably a lot slower than you expected it's going to be. If you're anything like me and you watch a lot of YouTube content creators, you've probably seen a handful of them who have blown up in relatively short amounts of time. People who have amassed a couple thousand followers within a couple weeks, or even 100,000 followers within a couple months. And those things do happen, but the truth is, it is the equivalent of winning the lottery as far as a probability standpoint is concerned. It's very, very rare that that happens, especially if you are starting out from zero, starting out without any sort of background on social media or any sort of notoriety from anything else. You're gonna start off very, very slow. I know that for the first couple weeks, I had like single-digit subscribers, and eventually I got up to 10, and I remember getting 10 subscribers and being so happy about that. And now a year in, I'm sitting right around the 500 mark, which again, there are people who have done tremendously better than that. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I wish I was further ahead, but also I'm like, man, there's 500 strangers out there watching my videos, and in a way that feels really big too. Something that I think a lot of content creators can relate to, especially when they're just starting out, is this weird conflicted feeling of wanting absolutely everybody to see your content, but also not wanting anybody that you know to see your content. So I do have a select handful of close friends who I have shared my YouTube channel with and told them what I was doing, but by and large, I've tried to keep this kind of under wraps and keep it secretive. I know I could have a lot more subscribers if I did things like posting on like my personal Facebook pages or anything like that. And I don't know why, there's just something that's a little bit embarrassing, and I'm just a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of kind of my larger peer group, the people that I went to high school with, people from old jobs, etc., seeing my content, especially in the green stage that it's still in. So I guess I would say expect the worst, hope for the best. If you do better than you were expecting to, you're only going to feel good about it. But if you set the bar too high, if you set the expectation too high to begin with, you're only going to set yourself up for disappointment.
You tried your best, and you failed miserably. The lesson is, never try.
And in that same line of thought, the third thing that I've learned since I started making videos here on YouTube is that the effort is very front-loaded. And what I mean by that is that initially you're gonna have to work really, really hard for every view, every subscriber, every like, every comment. It's gonna take a lot of hustling to get people to notice you at all. And then what starts to happen after a little while is you start to build up a small following, a small community of people, and they start to enjoy your videos regardless really of what you're making, because they enjoy you. They start to form some sort of a bond or a relationship with you through the internet, and they enjoy your personality and they enjoy the content you're making. But it takes a little bit of the pressure off, knowing that the people who are watching your videos are watching it for you more than they're watching it for the content that you're making. But it doesn't start out like that right at the beginning. Lesson number 4 that I've learned is that perfection is the enemy of progress. I think it's only natural when you're starting out a new hobby or a new project of some sort to kind of envision what you think it's going to look like and how it's going to feel and how it's going to go. And especially if you're like me and you've watched a lot of different content creators over the years and you've drawn inspiration from them, you imagine what you want yours to look like, and you think that it's going to be a lot easier than it's going to be. And then when you actually start going, you realize, man, this is really hard. You know, I thought I was going to make videos that would look like Matt D'Avella's, and I could barely even use a camera. So there's certainly a level of delusion there. But if you get so hung up on perfectionism, it will completely halt your progress. If you get to the point, and I have to check myself in this sometimes, if you get to the point where you're like, you know, I said this one word differently than I wanted to, or I don't like the way the lighting came out in this shot, you can redo things and redo things and redo things unlimited times, and it will never be 100% perfect. And there has to get to a certain point where you just let go of that perfectionism and just upload and just keep going, because if you are hung up on every little detail, you'll never move forward at all. The 5th thing that I've learned is probably a pretty obvious one, but maybe not as obvious as it should be, and that's just that it's a lot of work. I think that much like the way that social media gives us a very narrow glimpse into people's lives and it's like a highlight reel, I think the same thing exists when it comes to content creation or any creative outlet really, where you see people doing it and it just looks like a whole bunch of fun, and it looks like, you know, hey, this vlogger is just living their life and recording it and making content out of that. But honestly, it is a lot of work. In all of the time that I've been doing this, in the last 47 videos that I've made, 48 counting this one, it means that I'm occupying a lot of my weekend to work on this. And it's a struggle because I want to make videos. I want to get better at making videos. This is a choice that I'm making. And I recognize that if I don't put in that work, like I was saying, it's front loaded. If I don't put in that work now, it's never going to get the ball rolling to the place that I want it to be. But it's difficult because it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of effort. And sometimes I just want to enjoy my weekends off and I actually don't want to actively work on a project. What ends up being like a 12-minute video is often at least 10 to 20 hours of work when you account for recording, shooting B-roll, editing, uploading, making a thumbnail, all that kind of stuff. I'm trying really hard to maintain the fun aspect of it and not make it feel like just one more task or one more chore that I have to do, because I think that becomes a very slippery slope. And I think that turning something into a job or something into a need to do task is the easiest way to sabotage the enjoyability of it. The next thing I was surprised to learn was the sense of community that would be built around having even just a small YouTube channel. Like I mentioned, I'm at about 500 subscribers or so as of the time of recording this, but I have about, I would say, like a dozen people who I know actively watch every single video that I upload, and I know that because they comment and they engage with me on Instagram. And if you guys are watching this, you totally know who you are. There's like maybe 10 or 12 of you who leave me comments on all of my videos every single week, and they're the most lovely comments. They're the nicest things that you guys are saying, and I really appreciate it. At this point, I'm not benefiting from this financially whatsoever. I'm not making any money at all off of this channel, as I had mentioned, but I get so much joy from those comments that you guys leave me every Sunday morning when I upload my videos. I look forward to, as much as you guys look forward to watching my videos, I look forward to your comments. I know a lot of people on YouTube really try to push people to leave comments for the algorithm, but I just genuinely enjoy the dialogue. I enjoy your comments. I enjoy the natter back and forth. For anybody who hasn't done so yet, you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram as well, and I'm always happy to chat with you guys on there. It's just the coolest, most humbling feeling to know that there's even a really small handful of people out there in the world who enjoy my content, enjoy the videos that I'm making, get a kick out of my shenanigans, and enjoy my weirdness. And so thank you guys so much. I mean that genuinely. I really appreciate you, and as much as you enjoy watching my videos, I enjoy reading your comments, and I really appreciate you. I don't even know what else to say. The next thing that I've learned, I guess tip number 7, lesson number 7, is that it's really important to take yourself seriously, but not too seriously. When I say take yourself seriously, I think it's important that if you want YouTube to become a source of income for you, if you want it to become an established community, if you want to turn it into a job, you have to take it seriously and treat it as a job. I know that that applies with virtually any business. Even with my actual full-time job, when I first started out, the ball rolled so slowly and I just chugged along and chugged along and chugged along, and that compounding, snowballing effect is what ultimately led to me being able to support myself through my business. And I think the same thing applies through YouTube. So you have to take it seriously, and you have to have a certain level of respect for the people who engage with your content and who watch your videos. But I also think it's important not to take yourself too seriously. Don't have a stick up your ass. Don't think that you're hot shit because a couple people care about your silly internet videos. Be willing to be silly and be willing to be casual and be willing to be yourself, which leads into the next point, which is that you are your own secret weapon.
You are your own secret weapon.
There are thousands, if not millions of people on the internet trying to do what you're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, and the only thing that is going to make you stand apart from them is you. Is you being your weird, quirky, interesting, unique self. I think it's very normal for people to really hold themselves back and only let out little glimpses of this very curated version of themselves in attempt to not look weird and attempt to pass as normal and not draw unwanted attention to yourself. And I'm not saying to go on the internet and make a giant ass of yourself, but being weird and being quirky and letting out your weird sense of humor, that's what's going to draw people into you. That's what's going to make you relatable, and that's what's going to make people want to watch your content over somebody else's. It's your personality. So be your weird, quirky, sarcastic self, because that's what people are actually here to see. In fact, if you are one of the people who are watching this video right now with zero interest in starting a YouTube channel of your own, and you're watching it just to see the snarky comments and stupidity that I'm going to come up with, leave me a comment right now and let me know that you're one of those people and prove my point. Prove that you don't care about 10 tips about starting a YouTube channel. You're just here because for some reason you like my jackassery. The ninth thing that I've learned is something that I think every single creative person has dealt with at some point, and that is that there will always be a discrepancy between the content you want to make and the content that you know is going to do well on a commercial level. And so what I mean by that in my case is that I have all of these weird ideas of videos that I want to make, topics that I find interesting, that I want to explore, but that I know that not a lot of other people will be interested in. On the flip side, I know that there are certain topics that I can make videos about that will go viral, and viral for me is, doing well, getting a couple hundred or even a couple thousand views. And I know that there are certain videos that are easy to make that will do well as far as the YouTube analytics are concerned, but that they're not videos I'm necessarily passionate or interested in making. And so I try to toe this line where I keep this whole project interesting for myself, because if it's not, then what's the point? But also where I want to promote the growth of my channel, and I know to do that I have to kind of push that boundary a little bit and make the content that other people want to see, even if it's not the content that I'm most eager to make. So I try and do a good balance of both. I try to make videos that I know probably won't perform the best, but that I enjoy to make, and I try to make some videos that I know will do well, and I try to find enjoyability within them. But that's always going to be a creative discrepancy, is what should I make versus what do I want to make? What's going to do well versus what am I going to enjoy? And finally, the 10th thing that I've learned is that you can't be afraid to experiment. Even with everything that I just said in the last point, I think it's really important to experiment and to try new things. And if you look at any YouTuber who has any sort of notoriety, any sort of big following, and you go way back into their catalog of videos, chances are that you will find a whole bunch of things that are completely unrelated to what they're known for now. I think that that's just part of the creative process, is experimenting and trying new things, throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. I know that there are people who make videos about one topic, but their channel started out as something entirely different. And sometimes they just make videos about random things until they find whatever it is that they either enjoy making videos about the most, or that people are the most receptive to. And so you will probably find that you're going to want to make a bunch of videos that are about different topics and different niches. And some people will tell you not to do that. Some people will tell you that you should keep your channel focused. If you want to keep an audience retained, that you should keep it to just one or two topics that people are going to be interested in seeing over and over and over again. And I think that there's absolutely merits to that idea, but I think that it is important to allow yourself to grow creatively and as a person and to try new things. Because if you upload one video and most of your subscribers who usually watch your stuff aren't interested, that's okay. They don't have to watch that video. Maybe they still will anyways, because maybe they like your personality. And if you like my personality, I don't know what's wrong with you, but thanks, I guess. But hey, maybe they don't like that video. Fine. There's a huge chance though that you're going to introduce yourself to an entirely different group of people who otherwise may not have been interested in your channel at all. And so you're really allowing yourself to branch out and broaden your horizons. And so don't be afraid to experiment, and don't let anybody make you feel like you have to be backed into a corner and just make the same video over and over and over again, because that's no fun. What's the point of that? I know that the vast majority of my subscribers are here because they found my minimalist home tour video. That is by far the most popular video on my channel. It has done the best. And I'm really curious, actually, if you're watching this right now, if you remember what the first video of mine was that you saw. What was your gateway drug to my channel? Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what my first video was that you ever watched that drew you in and made you a subscriber, because I would love to know, especially if it wasn't the home tour video, but even if it was. Anyways, that's it. Those are the 10 things that I've learned since I started making videos here on YouTube 1 year ago. As I mentioned, I am very much appreciative. I can't even express how much I appreciate you guys hanging around and watching. The fact that I'm still plugging away at this 1 year later, even with the slow growth that I've experienced, is only because of you guys. It's only because of that handful of you who subscribe and who leave me those lovely comments every weekend, and they make my Sunday. So thank you guys so much. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram, all that stuff. See you next week. Have a good one. Take care.